going on
What
here.
do
It's
we
coming
got? What do
straight
we
from the
got?
UK. Straight from the UK. The rise of the hushed hybrid movement.
Don't tell
So,
people.
so here's the nuts and bolts of it, right? Like companies are having mandates. This is coming from the UK.
What do you mean mandates?
Mandates like return to office, right? Return to
Okay.
office. And then the actual managers are like, I don't want to lose these people. Plus, I don't really. So I know what the company's saying. You got to come into the office 3 or 4 days a week. But if you want to just work from home, it's fine. No one's going to even care.
I'm one of those cool bosses, okay? If you want to stay at home and work in your pajamas, you can do it, okay? It's probably an English accent. Like, I'm one of those cool bosses. You could totally stay home. I don't care what Greg says. Okay, he's not our
Don't listen
boss.
to Todd. Todd wants his team in the office, but Todd, this isn't Todd's team. It's my team.
It's my team, okay? And I'm one of the cool bosses, all right? I'm one of the cool
I'm
bosses.
gonna protect you.
Okay, watch out for cool bosses, by the way.
Now here's the downside of that, right? The contentiousness that's going to happen when one team doesn't have to follow the rules and another team does, right? Depending on the manager, this could cause some real
Trauma.
problems in the office. Danielle, what's your take here?
Well, I think to your point, I think it will cause problems. I think one of the tough things for the young professionals in the office environment is that, we come to the office and we want connection. We want to up level our careers. We want some consistency in terms of the experience that we're going to get. And I think that the hushed hybrid thing, it doesn't work out well because a lot of people end up coming to the office, not just young people, but people generally. Oh, I just commuted for an hour and a half, an hour one way, and now I get to the office and there's the person that I wanted to connect with today isn't here.
It's a ghost town.
Yeah. So I think that's like one of the bigger problems that I think the press does cover it, but I think it's more of a problem than maybe companies think it is.
Yeah. You can't have it's a double standard. It's really a double standard and it's not fair to certain teams. And it's a tough one. What is
yeah, so we
what
got
about-
Steven said, and it's weird because on like LinkedIn, it's
Dang.
usually backwards the names, but Steven said, Boeing laid off 2,000 yesterday here in Seattle in wake of the 6-week machinist strike. GM isn't the only one, unfortunately. Yeah, look, the layoffs are still continuing, right? And I don't want to get into that necessarily right now, but 100%, Steven, thanks for giving us that news as well.
that's why it's important to have a personal brand and buy my course, right? Exactly.
Now, did you see? So on this whole like remote work thing, Christy Lake, who is the chief people officer over at Twilio, they're a fully remote company. One of the points she made, because she did a whole article that went viral, and basically she made 2 key points. One was they actually are a results-based company, and the remote work has not impacted their results because they built a culture that's results-driven. And everybody knows it, and everybody works remotely and gets results. And then the second thing she said was, like you said, Adam, going back and forth on these policies is terrible, and it creates anxiety with employees. You lose the power of your leadership, and it's like I've said it from the get-go. If you're in the office 5 days a week, amazing. Just make sure that 2 years ago you weren't talking about the benefits of remote work and how it's great, because that's literally what people have done. You can go back and look at executives that wrote blogs on how productive remote work is and how it's great for the employee, and then 2 years later they're backfiring on it. So,
well,
stick with your guns with this stuff. Why? Nikki said perception of favoritism.
Oh yeah,
for sure, exactly. Especially when it's like, hey, I got to work from home because of this. Okay, and then Greg from the CFO is like, everyone's got to come into the office for sure. That's how it's going to be perceived. And then Tatiana said, congratulations as well. Congratulations to you, too.
Congratulations.
We made
Congrats.
To all of us.
Congrats to all of it. Yeah, it comes down to the double standard, and it's not fair in the office, and there's going to be a demise of culture, and it's going to cause a rift. It's going to cause a separation of those who can work from home and those who cannot. So they need to crack down on this, right? Like, it's just not going to work. It has to be all or none.
Crack down on it. I agree.
So you have quiet firing, quiet hiring, quiet quitting, hush hybrid. What is the next, Danielle? What is the next higher or lower volume action for the corporate world?
I think it's going to have to do with like taking benefits away.
Silent benefit removal.
Yeah.
Silent, muted benefits.
All of a sudden, you just go to the doctor and they're like, that'll be $8,252. And you're like, why? Because we took a healthcare. You have no healthcare anymore. They took that away. We just didn't tell you about it.
That's terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah. Terrible.
That is terrible. So it's just a space to watch too, and it's also interesting in different. Hi, Susan.
Hamza said hi.
Really, it's just going to come down to consistency and leadership and setting the example and doing the right thing, all or none. I like the idea of like, hey, come in 4 days a week this week, and next week don't come in at all. Like, kind of give people.
I have a question. What do you guys think people are doing secretly besides this like hybrid thing
I think they're
at work?
working. I think they're working multiple roles. I think there's a segment of people out there that are double dipping, and if you can do it, great.
Still,
I know people double dipping. I'm not going to mention their names. I know people who are double dipping. They work remotely, mostly in tech, and they have the ability to do that with a lot of efficiency. It's good for them. I mean, they're mostly 1099. It's kind of tough if you're a W-2 and then you're also 1099 on the side. Like, that's a tough one, but people are doing it.
I had someone on one of my TikTok lives that said she had 3 jobs and then has 4 kids at home as well. I was like,
oh,
how on earth do you manage 3 jobs? But people are doing it.
that's wild.
I think there's a study out there that shows like more than ever in history right now, people are working multiple jobs, and it makes sense. Things
Yeah.
are more expensive, and remote work you can have that benefit with remote work. If you could keep the results, in my mind, I'm like, it shouldn't really matter, and that's where I think this whole, the chief people officer at Twilio, she made that point where it's like if you have a results driven culture, a lot of this is taken care of. And I think this is what we're shifting from. We're shifting from the amount of hours of work that you do and just being at a place versus like what you can accomplish. And this is where, like, in my mind, if you could do something in 2 hours and get better results than someone who's taking 10 hours, hey, that's not, you shouldn't be penalized for that, right? But
Yeah,
the old school mentality is like, oh, I don't care, still show up,
you're
7
on
a.m. to
company
7
dime,
p.m.
company
Output
time, company dime.
output over hours. So I think we kind of hit this one and we get it right. Just be consistent. Enough of the
Consistency is
favoritism.
key. That's right.
George Rogers. I know George.